Hello everybody and welcome. My name is Jerry Hicks, also known as the Dark Wolf. If you would please stand for the Star Spangled Banner followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now let's get this party started, folks.
Things are better left unknown, and I'll never find you here, 'cause no one's ever Oh, what a widow, a peaceful spider. When the glass is clean, she's a sneaky hider. Hide the lies and the alibis. Oh, what a sinner. Is it in her? What's the truth in this riddle? Is love really just this simple? I can't seem to find my way in this world that never stays. What a widow, a peaceful spider. When the glass is clean, she's a sneaky hider. Hide the lies and the alibis. What a sinner. Is it in her? Is this real? Just illusion? I'm lost in the wonderland of confusion. I'm lost in the wonderland of confusion. Is this real or just illusion? Manifestation or a dark delusion? Is this real or just illusion? I'm lost in a wonderland of confusion.
Ripon Rabbit Hole is a community-driven radio. At times the community comments may reveal prejudices and other beliefs that we or our sponsors do not condone. Views or opinions expressed by the community, callers, or guests, are those of the individual speaking and do not represent the views or opinions of this site. Ripon Common Sense content is intended for mature audiences only. Enjoy.
Coming to you from a secret cave, hidden deep within the wilderness. This is the Dark Wolf's Den Show. Now, here is your host, Jerry Hicks.
That's right, I am Jerry Hicks, also known as the Dark Wolf, and we are broadcasting live from a secret cave hidden deep within the wilderness of Tennessee. That's right, we're ripping through the electromagnetic soup, we're tearing through the atmosphere, and we're tunneling away into your radio like a quantum particle. This is the Dark Wolf's Den radio show for Thursday, April the 14th, 2022. Haha. So whether you're on the edge of a reality, the edge of the galaxy, or the edge of your seat, we're glad you chose us to be right there with you. Folks, tonight we are diving down into yet another state of mystery, this time the great grand sized state of Texas. That's right. They say everything's bigger in Texas. Let's see if our list of paranormal is also bigger in Texas, and we're going to dive deep down into this rabbit hole here in just a moment. But first, let's go ahead and see who all we have out here in our YouTube chat rooms, both on the Ripon Rabbit Hole as well as the Dark Wolf's Den Show chat rooms on YouTube. How we doing over here tonight, guys? Got quite a few of you hanging out, it looks like JoJo's hanging out in both chat rooms, waving in. Glad to see you as always, JoJo's. Those who were watching on the Ripon Rabbit Hole actually caught a glimpse of me singing along to Wonderland there at the beginning. There's one of the OBSs that will do it, the other one won't, and it switches up which one it is, I guess, from time to time. I thought I was going to the Dark Wolf's Den Show channel. I guess I was on the Ripon Rabbit Hole one that time. But on the Dark Wolf's Den Show, we also got Michael Fontaine checking in, says, hello everyone. Hey Michael, glad to see you. As well as Shannon SL311. Shannon with the rock on sign, rock on Shannon. A pleasure to have you here, as well as Wasted Millennium and My Life DIY says, woohoo! Happy Thursday, My Life, and happy Thursday, everybody hanging out both in the Dark Wolf's Den Show and the Ripon Rabbit Hole over here, where I was caught hamming it out on video. Maggie's Ace calling me out on that. Glad to see you, Maggie's Ace. Raider Champion says, can only listen tonight. Well, glad to have you along for the ride, Raider. Allison Briscoe says, I am in Texas. Really? Well, I hope you sincerely enjoy this show. I hope that I am able to do it honors. Maggie's, all my exes live in Texas. That's why I hang my hat in Tennessee. That's absolutely right, Maggie's. Great song, George Strait. There's a reason that I talk on the radio and not sing on the radio. I do hope that your ears still work after that. Man, Danny Mull jumping in with the anagrams already. Taxes as an anagram for Texas. Definitely not a good one for that. Well, it's good anagram, just taxes are not good. Shannon SL311 checking in the Dark Horse Den Show says, listening from South Texas. Well, again, I do hope that I'm able to do your state justice. Earth Daughter says, I made it. Hey, Earth Daughter, glad to have you here, as well as Errol Taylor says, greetings, all greetings, Errol. E.T. Sachs says, man, Danny Mall. Yeah, not a lot of letters on this particular state to play around with, is it? XSAT. XSAT's a good one. A lot of interesting ones you're going to come up with here. I'm sure you always do. And it's, again, a pleasure to have everybody here. I had a wonderful birthday yesterday, folks. It was absolutely amazing. Had a ball hanging out with you guys back here. We had a wonderful party in the Backstage Lounge, hanging out. Had a really good time back there. Had the cake, had the ice cream, had a wonderful birthday, folks. And again, it was an absolute pleasure to be able to spend it with you guys, most especially. And now we're going to check out yet another state of mystery tonight, guys. I hope you guys are ready. And whether you are hanging out with us over here in the YouTube chat rooms or listening around the world on Ripon Common Sense Radio Network, the RiponRabbitHole.com, or even on the replay on BitChute or Rumble, we're glad to have every last one of you guys along for the ride. That's right. And we're going to take that ride here in just a moment. But before we do, we've got two more fun little segments to do. The first of which we call Today in History. And keeping with the theme that everything is bigger in Texas, our Today in History is of Titanic proportions. You see, on this day in 1912, the Titanic, the world's largest ocean liner, hits an iceberg at 11 p.m. off Newfoundland. It would go on to sink in the early hours of April 15th. And that is today's segment of Today in History.
Say what?
Our quote of the day today, folks, comes from my daughter's favorite artist, a painter named Chuck Close. He says, and I quote, "Inspiration is for amateurs. The rest of us just show up and get to work. If you wait around for the clouds to part and a bolt of lightning to strike you in the brain, you're not going to make an awful lot of work. All the best ideas come out of the process. They come out of the work itself." End quote. And that, once again, is from artist and painter Chuck Close. And that is today's segment of
Say what?
Definitely wise words to live by, as we ourselves are now ready to get to work uncovering the paranormal state of mystery that is Texas. That's right. And as always, we are going to start out with our cryptids tonight, and back to help us once again go through our list of cryptid creatures is our good friend Ben Miller. Welcome back, Ben. Tell us about the cryptids we have tonight in the great big state of Texas.
With the list of cryptids I want to talk about, it is hard for me to really figure out which one I want to start with, as they're all fairly interesting.
And I would expect nothing less from something the size of Texas, right? To have a number of interesting cryptids, I'm sure. But what about the most out-of-place cryptid that you found in Texas? Ben, what do you got for that one?
So, starting off, there have been quite a few reports of a creature that is normally found in the legends of India, but has been seen in Texas and is known as the Cricotta. At first I didn't pay much mind to this one until I really started reading up on it, and it certainly isn't an honorable mention.
I think we can all agree, Ben, a cryptid creature that belongs in India is definitely seemingly out of place in Texas. But tell us about this strange creature, this Cricotta, I think you called it. What does this creature look like?
This creature is said to look like a mix between a dog, wolf, and hyena. Even as such, it is said to be the size of a mule. It has cloven hooves for feet and has a mane like a horse. Its fur varies, but can be seen as yellow, tan, or black, and in some instances, it has spots.
So a canid version of the duckbill platypus, perhaps?
Its eyes are said to come in many colors as well, and its jaws are very powerful. What makes this creature unique is the fact that it is said to have the ability to mimic a human voice.
But even still, there are some creatures in nature today that do have the ability to mimic a human voice.
It utilizes this ability to act as a cry for help, luring its victims to their demise. In some instances, it has been reported that the creature will even call out its victim's name. Many assume that this being is telepathically able to gather this information, whereas other evidence point to it finding out the name by simply stalking its prey's house.
I don't know about you guys, I don't think this creature is telepathic. It would make more sense to stalk its victim and have the information already available, right?
I mention this because one of its main food sources is sheep and cattle, but it also has a taste for dogs and, of course, human flesh. In this, it will mimic the human voice, drawing the dog to them. After that, it will then call out to the human, and the results are the same. To me, it feels like this creature hangs around a property long enough to make their hunt successful. Although in some variations, this beast does possess an odd set of abilities where it can somehow paralyze its victims just by looking at them.
Could this perhaps be the same family of creatures that the Medusa was based on from ancient mythology? Was there creatures that had the ability to paralyze a human just upon looking at them? That's intriguing.
This creature acts similar to a few others, in that if it can't find live prey, it will go to graveyards and dig up the tombs.
Okay, that's pretty creepy. I mean, I get it. It's a survival instinct to dig up the food available to it. But still, digging up graves, that's pretty darn creepy if you ask me.
Adding to the part of it stalking one household, there are claims that this creature lives in caves or abandoned homes. I have to wonder if the homes were always abandoned, or if their activity caused it to be such.
That's definitely one way to get a new den in nature, just literally take it over, right?
Interestingly, there are some that theorize that this creature is actually a hyena that has the ability to mimic human speech, much like a parrot.
And that is exactly true, Ben. Like I mentioned earlier, that is not out of the realm of possibility. Though I don't see a hyena being the case, still, it's not out of the realm of possibility. We know hyenas sound like humans laughing, so they already have a bit of mimicry to begin with.
Moving on to a fairly short but equally interesting story, we start with the creature seen around Big Bend National Park, and it is called the mountain boomer. Many people from Texas know that the name mountain boomer refers to a reptile known as the eastern collared lizard, but that version only grows to about a foot long. The one I'm referencing is always described as being around 5 to 7 feet tall and resembles something that you would see on Jurassic Park.
Wait, are we talking about dinosaurs, Ben? I know we've seen these in a number of other states, but are we really talking about dinosaurs? You know I really like those type of cryptids.
From what I can tell, these creatures aren't bloodthirsty, but they are said to look like a form of Thescelosaurus, but only smaller due to those dinosaurs being around 8 to 15 feet tall. The boomer can come in all types of colors, but for the most part, the males are normally brighter. They are said to make their home in burrows and are very shy and try to avoid all human contact. They have 2 very powerful back legs that make them able to avoid capture from predators.
As far as the males having a different color than the females, we know that is a usual trick of nature that we see repeated in a number of different well-known creatures. And walking on 2 legs, Ben, are we talking about something like a velociraptor here?
As a strange adaptation, they are said to have the ability to make a wolf-like howl. I'm not sure if this is to confuse predators, or if it is just how they naturally sound.
I gotta say, I'm kind of a big fan of the howling part, but just the same, unlike any other velociraptor case files, or any other dinosaur case files for that matter, that we have run across before.
From what I found, there have been a handful of sightings, but all are brief. In 1970, a man claimed that one of these creatures actually hit his car, causing him to veer off the road, but the creature escaped. In 1990, another person claimed that they came across this creature standing on the road, apparently making a meal of roadkill. As the car came closer, the being lifted up its head and took off into the forest. I'm not sure about this one, but I thought I would mention it since I do have a soft spot for the idea of some dinosaurs being around.
I am 100% with you on that one, Ben. I also, as you guys know, have a bit of a soft spot for the idea of dinosaur cryptids, especially in a state like Texas, right? If there's any state that I would expect to have some large cryptids, even dinosaur-style cryptids, Texas is definitely on the top of that list. And speaking of list, Ben, what is the next cryptid creature we have on our list this evening?
With our next cryptid, we have a real treat, since it is known by many names, and due to this, made it really confusing as to if it was the same thing. Some call it a pterodon, or maybe it is a thunderbird, but it has all been simplified to being known as Big Bird.
Wait, are you talking about like the 8-foot-tall yellow creature that looks like a bird, walks on 2 legs, speaks English, and whose special ability is to spout propaganda?
No, not that one.
Oh, good. I was getting a little bit concerned about my show there for a minute. All right, in that case, Ben, tell us about this version of the Big Bird.
This creature is quite different from most descriptions of a thunderbird. Even though it has the size, the face is said to resemble that of a gorilla. Most see this being as simply a shadow in the night sky, but others have had more terrifying encounters. Sightings first started around Rio Grande Valley in 1976, when 2 police officers stated they saw an extremely large black bird flying over their squad car. At the time, the wingspan was said to be around 10 feet wide.
I do find it intriguing that the initial reports came from police officers of all people, right?
A few days later, 2 girls named Tracy Lawson and Jackie Davies were outside their house when they noticed a 5-foot-tall bird-like creature with the face of a gorilla standing in a nearby drainage ditch. The creature appeared to just be watching them, which obviously frightened the girls. They ran inside to tell their parents, but when they returned to the spot, the bird was gone, but had left behind a set of 3-toed prints.
So as you guys know from my Chupacabra experience, that 3-toed print is very, very important and something that we've run across so many times in this series in these cryptid case files. It almost seems to be a glaring trait of cryptid creatures in general. Not all of them, but a good number of them have these specific 3-toed prints.
In Brownsville on January 7th, a man named Alberto Guajardo was in his home when he suddenly heard the sound of something large hitting his house. Alberto grabbed a knife and ran outside, only to find out that what had made the sound was a 5-foot-tall bird-like creature with red eyes, that he would later claim looked like nothing from this world. In Raymondville, Armando Grimaldo was standing outside his house smoking a cigarette when he started to hear the loud sound of wings flapping. He looked up in time to see a large black bird flying down on him. This bird grabbed a hold of him with its feet and tried to take off with him, but Armando managed to escape.
This has got to be a gargantuan creature, especially to feel comfortable enough to swoop down and try to literally grab up a human.
Neighbors rushed over to check on him and saw that he had large scratches and his shirt was torn open. According to the story, he was sent to Willacy County Hospital to be treated for shock. Officer Arturo Padilla from San Benito reported seeing a large black bird-like creature with a wingspan of 12 feet cross in front of his police cruiser.
I love the fact that some of these stories, and so many that we've heard across this series, include police officers being involved or at least reporting it, right?
Not to be outdone, there is another similar creature that many claim to be either a gargoyle, Mothman, or something entirely different.
Interestingly enough, we have seen Mothman in a couple states other than West Virginia. It seems these creatures have expanded and possibly even all the way to Texas. Darius Munchausen, glad to see you checking in on the DWD show. Danny Mole checking in over there as well. Good to see you guys.
This creature is man-sized, has red eyes and wings like a bat, but most all describe it as being more man-like than animal. A lot of sightings of this creature come from McAllen. In one story, a man was in his garden when he noticed that the neighborhood dogs had suddenly started to go crazy. He looked around and didn't see anything, but when he turned his gaze skyward, he saw a large man-sized creature flapping its wings, just hovering in the air. He said it had gray skin and its face was almost human-like.
And of course, every time I hear gray-skinned, I automatically think of some type of alien-type creature, right? What about you guys?
In a similar story, a woman named Wilma claimed,
I am proud to see my old friend Walt House checking in, the voice, folks, that takes us in and out of the breaks. Our buddy Walt House himself checking in with a big shout-out from K-Town, Idaho. Glad to see you, my friend. Ladies and gentlemen, Walt House hanging out in the Dark Wolf's Den show. Definitely a treat tonight. Sandy B, glad to see you checking in also over on the Ripon Rabbit Hole.
Claimed that while sitting at her home at night, she heard a dog start barking outside. She turned on the porch light and pulled back the curtain to look at what was causing the trouble, and was terrified to see a large human-sized creature with bat-like wings standing in her yard. All the while, it had a hold of her dog. At the side of the light, the creature took off.
Now, it's not common to see these Mothman-type creatures actually grabbing another animal, so that is one strange part of this case file.
Wilma ran outside to check on her dog, who seemed to be fine. The next day, she again went out to check the yard and saw really odd prints in the dirt. In taking a closer look at her dog, she noticed that it had small needle-like punctures in the skin around where the creature had a hold of it.
Well, at least the dog survived. That's definitely a plus.
Adding to this is a story from 1986 that, from what I can tell, isn't just some random scary story. A man named Frank Shaw was working at the NASA Johnson Space Center in Houston. One night as he was leaving to go to his car, he happened to look up and noticed a large black-winged figure perched on the roof of a nearby building. It was described as looking exactly like a gargoyle, and its wings were wrapped around it like a cape.
So perhaps we're not dealing with a Mothman creature at all. Perhaps we really are dealing with a type of gargoyle creature.
The two stood there watching each other for a while, and Frank stated he got the feeling that the creature seemed to enjoy the terror it was inflicting. It then began to unfurl its wings, which made a dry crackling sound, and it finally spread them out with a snap. Frank took that hint and ran to his car. As he got inside, he heard the creature take off with a loud whooshing sound. Frank drove quickly down the road to his house, all the while too terrified to look back to see if the being was following him. Later at work, he debated over telling his boss about what had happened, but he finally relented.
And apparently talking about this to another person was actually a good thing.
After doing so, they informed him that others had seen the same creature, and in fact, two of the facility's German Shepherds were found mangled in the same area previously.
Now that is an interesting fact of the case file. The only creatures that have been injured this entire time all seem to be dogs. The original encounter's dog was picked up and two German Shepherds were mauled. This thing seems to only want to hunt dogs opposed to humans, right?
In this meeting, he was told that a secret file had been kept on the sightings, but they weren't disclosing anything more. A few days later, NASA officials from Arizona visited Frank and interrogated him on his encounter. Once the meeting was over, he was informed that it would be best for him and his family's well-being to not mention this to anyone.
And of course, we expect an entity like Never a Straight Answer NASA to do their best to cover up anything and everything that they can. It seems like it'd be a game to these folks, right? How can we cover up the next big thing? In this case, the next big thing happened to be a gargoyle.
As of such, he did as they wished, and the only ones he told was his family. In 2004, his daughter Desiree decided to share the story with cryptozoologist and author Nick Redfern. I'm not sure if this story can be backed up or not, but as it stands, it is interesting, and I did see where Nick did in fact write about this encounter.
Well, one should stay skeptical when reading any case file, but it's when you have a series of case files with the same information in it from a variety of independent sources that you start to stand up and take notice. So even getting rid of one is not going to get rid of the whole concept. Like the Mandela effect, even if you get rid of 99.9999% of all Mandela effects and it comes down to one thing literally changing in reality that we're told is supposed to be set in stone, is still gargantuan. You don't need many grains of sand in that point to build a beach. Same here with any case files that we look at. How many grains of sand do we need to build a beach? How many independent verifications do we need to admit and agree that there's something to these creatures? What else do we have left in the great state of Texas, Ben?
As usual, I couldn't include all the cryptids that are said to roam about Texas, but I did want to include a few of them as honorable mentions. Before getting into that, I do want to at least state that there are quite a few Bigfoot and Chupacabra sightings as well. Now with this, I would like to mention the Lake Worth monster, which for all descriptions is a goat man. The problem is that there is quite a bit of evidence pointing to it being a hoax. In saying that, there are other similar reports of goatmen type creatures in the state as well.
And again, not our first time of hearing of goatman style creatures either.
Moving on to another interesting cryptid comes the reports from a police officer from Mission, Texas, who came across a being that can only be described as being a human-sized cat person. From what I could find, there was only one report of this, but I suppose if there are goatmen and dogmen, then there could very easily be a catman.
You know, you almost can't help but wonder if these aren't necessarily cryptid creatures at all, but just a variety of alien species who have found a good outlying place to meet, right?
There also has been sightings of giant alligators.
Walt House says, look into the Texas flesh pit. Trust me, something you want to research. I will definitely look that up. Not something we're going to be able to get to on this episode, but I will mark it down in my notes. Appreciate it, Walt.
Alligators in Lake Travis, and their stories resemble those from the movie Lake Placid. The final one I'll mention is the strange one known as the Beast of Bear Crick from Kimball County, which varies in description from the being a large cat or simply being a form of Bigfoot. I should note that black panthers are claimed to be seen all over the state, so who knows?
Who knows indeed. A variety of cryptids in the state of Texas. Go big or go home. And we've got to go to a network break right now, folks. So my name's Jerry Hicks, also known as the Dark Wolf, and you're listening to the Dark Wolf's Den radio show exclusively on Ripon Common Sense Radio Network, the Ripon Rabbit Hole. We'll be right back with the second half of the State of Mystery of Texas and the hauntings in Texas after these messages. Stick around. Don't touch that dial. That's right.
We gotta stoke the fires and run off the men in black. Don't touch that dial. We'll be right back.
Oh yeah, Jerry Hicks on a Thursday night. Hi everyone, it's AJ, the Ripon Rabbit. Are you enjoying tonight's look at State of Mystery for the state of Texas? I know I am. If you are and you haven't done so already, please make sure to hop on over to our website, riponrabbithole.com. That's RIPONRABBITHOLE.com. There you can sign up for your exclusive Backstage VIP Pass. It's absolutely free to do so, and it always will be. It's going to give you unfiltered access down the rabbit hole to our privatized social media network. Our community-generated press, where you can establish and create your own profile and join and create groups and post news and information with our community. We'd love to have you over there. We do not sell, share, or give away your email or personal information, so you can feel comfortable about registering your free account today. Visit riponrabbithole.com, sign up for that exclusive Backstage Pass, and join us where the conversation continues after the show, down the rabbit hole. I'll return again tomorrow night, Friday, April 15th. Come along with me as we journey deep down the rabbit hole and explore the good life. We'll take a look at ways that you can improve the quality of your life, as well as others that are living the good life, and just exactly what we have to do in today's day and age to be able to experience the good life. That's tomorrow night, Friday, April 15th. Starts at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, as all shows do. Be here or be square. Then Saturday night, April 16th, come along with me as we investigate the strange and mysterious Easter Island. This one's going to be a lot of fun, especially considering it's Easter weekend. Are you going to dye some Easter eggs? Are you going to create an Easter basket, maybe have a little bit of a Easter egg hunt in your own backyard? I hope you do. I hope you have a lot of fun. Sunday, April 17th, Easter Sunday, you can relax and enjoy the entire day and night, as we will have no show on Easter Sunday. That's right. We're going to take the day and enjoy it as it should be enjoyed with family and friends, and I trust you will do the same. We'll return you back to tonight's State of Mystery for the great state of Texas with your host, Jerry Hicks, and the Dark Wolf's Den radio show. You're listening to the Ripon Common Sense Radio Network, home of the Freedom Flame, RiponRabbitHole.com.
Do you like what we're doing here? Would you like to help support our cause? If so, do make sure that you check out the new book, Moon Madness, written by yours truly under J.W. Hicks. It is available on Amazon, $7 for Kindle, $12 for paperback. A great way to help support us here, and you get a great book in return. Check it out. Links in the description box below, as well as in the chat room.
If you were meant to be controlled, you would have come with a remote, but you didn't. And that's why you listen to the Dark Wolf's Den show. Now, here is your host, Jerry Hicks.
That's right, I am Jerry Hicks, also known as the Dark Wolf, and welcome back to the second half of the Dark Wolf's Den radio show for Thursday, April the 14th, 2022. So whether you're on the edge of a reality, the edge of the galaxy, or the edge of your seat, we're glad you chose us to be right there with you. Folks, in the first half of the show, we have went over a number of cryptid creatures. If you have missed that, definitely go back and check that out. In the second half, as you guys know, we tend to dive into the hauntings, and this episode is no different as we go through our list of the hauntings of Texas.
The Marfa Ghost Lights. Marfa is a small town nestled in the high deserts of far west Texas between the Davis Mountains and Big Bend National Park.
Now, you guys know I normally don't put out case files or review case files that are so well known amongst other radio shows. However, this one in particular, I gotta say, I would kind of be remiss not to include on this list.
Marfa also has a reputation for beautiful sunsets, but should you choose to hang out just a little too long, you may encounter what locals call the Marfa Ghost Lights. An inexplicable anomaly in which witnesses describe sighting multicolored orbs that hover, twinkle, split into multiple orbs, and float to and fro quickly through the sky. The first published account of these lights appeared in 1957 in a local newspaper, with the first story or mention surfacing much earlier in 1883 when cowhand Robert Reed Ellison reported sighting something during a cattle drive that matched the ghost light's description.
With reports going all the way back to the 1800s, it's not easy to claim that this is a modern hoax of some type, right? That there's something going on with new technology that could cause this. This is a natural phenomenon that tends to be occurring for some reason.
One early speculation suggested the lights may be caused by weather condition, but that was quickly debunked as they seem to appear in all conditions and at all times of the year. Some claim they're a form of UFO, others spirits lost to the land over time, and while we may never know the truth, for now, any who wish to see these puzzling phosphorescents are welcome at the official Marfa Lights viewing platform bordering Highway 90 about 9 miles out of town.
So if you are interested in taking a swing at the Marfa Lights research, it sounds like it is available 24/7. Just head on down to Marfa, Texas. And while you're in Texas, perhaps you could stop by one of the many haunted schools that seem to be in the state.
The University of Texas at Austin. The University of Texas at Austin, or simply UT Austin, was first brought to life as an idea in the 1827 Constitution for the Mexican state of Coahuila y Tejas, as nothing more than a promise to establish public education in arts and science. In 1836, Texas gained independence from Mexico, with the government stepping in to uphold that very same promise. Over the years, many rumors of paranormal activity have surfaced here among faculty and students. The first hotspot is said to be that of the Littlefield Home. Built in 1893 for Civil War veteran George Littlefield, he and his wife Alice loved and financially supported the university for all of their lives. Tragically, George passed away in 1920, with Alice following 15 years later in 1935. When Alice passed away, she left their beloved home to the university, and ever since, visitors and passers-by report ghostly shadows moving about, strange sounds, disembodied footsteps, voices, and even the old piano heard playing itself.
I gotta say, and I've said many times before, I would not mind a piano freely playing itself. That is a lot less energy I have to expend for the amount of music that I'm going to get to enjoy. At least I hope it's enjoyable sounding.
Several have even caught sight of the full-bodied apparition of Alice herself. Another hotspot is said to be the Tarleton Law Library, just off official campus lines, where many report a dark, threatening figure with glowing eyes. Lastly, all around campus, students report things they just can't explain, such as doors opening and closing on their own, lights turning on and off by themselves, and even personal possessions going missing for days, then reappearing in strange locations.
So I would say the first ghost, the one that plays the piano, is more likely than not a caretaker ghost. Very active, haunting there. However, the other ones, though scary as they sound, there isn't a whole lot of information on them. It isn't as crazy as, say, some other schools that we have went over, and some that we still may go over before the end of the episode. But what else do we have on our list of haunted places in Texas?
Yorktown Memorial Hospital. Yorktown Memorial Hospital, in none other than Yorktown, was built in 1951 and was originally run by the Felician Sisters of the Roman Catholic Church.
Ripon Rabbit Hole AJ himself says the piano at Magic Castle plays itself. Remember those old wind-up ones they used to have that had the thing inside, it would just circle around and kind of play itself? Those were really cool. I used to think those were ghost pianos in like different restaurants and stuff. Those used to trip me out. But yeah, that's really cool.
Conditions were speculated to be questionable at best. It closed its doors in 1986 briefly before reopening on a smaller scale as a drug rehabilitation facility. Lack of adequate staffing led to poor conditions, and in just a few short years, the rehab facility closed its doors as well. Today, the building is owned privately, but don't worry, if you want to check it out, tours are still held on the regular. It's estimated that hundreds, possibly even thousands, perished in these decrepit halls over the years.
Once again, if you are a paranormal researcher headed to or living in Texas, here's yet another place available for research. And if my theory is correct and the high trauma plus high emotion equals haunting, then we should have a very, very strong amount of haunting energy in this small location, so it might make it very well worth a good paranormal investigation. This would be a well or a treasure trove of information if my theory is correct.
And local legend says quite
Darius Munchausen says, Carol's Cookie says, hello, do give her my love. Darius Munchausen, we appreciate her sending her shout out.
quite a few spirits may still be hanging around, with witnesses reporting dark figures with glowing eyes stalking the halls, the sound of knocking on doors and tapping on windows when no one else is around, disembodied footsteps, and even phantom voices coming from dark corners and old furniture.
So here already we have a very, very large amount of strong activity manifesting itself in this area, as would be expected. The stronger activity, like the knocks, the noises, the voices, all the different things that are expected from a more powerful haunting energy, and that still isn't the only energies that are here.
The spirits of several nuns have also been sighted roaming the grounds silently, glaring at any who near before vanishing into thin air, and several passers-by report seeing strange lights floating throughout the halls at night, similar to that of a lantern or candle. One tale tells that there was a double homicide in the basement, which, incidentally, is where many report the strongest activity.
Again, this should not be a mystery. This should be expected. High trauma, high emotion, high energetic haunting.
Such as EMF detectors shooting off the charts and disturbing screams of pain. Also reported are figures rolling wheelchairs down the halls, and several have been sent running after being touched or even scratched by invisible hands. Lastly, one room in Yorktown also holds an assembly of old dolls, because why not go for maximum creep factor?
I'll give it to him. That is pretty creepy, having an assembly of old dolls like that. That's just weird. Hopefully they aren't possessed dolls like, say, Abigail or Robert, right?
On numerous occasions, those entering this room have reported what sounds like the dolls whispering and conspiring with each other before quickly going silent.
Perhaps I spoke too quick. Perhaps they are as possessed and scary as Robert or Abigail. But let's see what else we have on our list here tonight. This is just a little too scary for me.
The USS Lexington. The USS Lexington, or the Blue Ghost, is an Essex-class aircraft carrier that was constructed in 1941 in Massachusetts.
Given our theory of high trauma plus high emotion equal high energy hauntings, I expect every piece of military equipment to have some type of spiritual energies around it, right?
It faithfully served the United States Navy in World War II, being commissioned in 1943, and was extensively used throughout the Pacific War. Throughout her use in war, the Blue Ghost saw more than a few battles, as well as nearly 400 casualties in a savage kamikaze ambush, and as local legend has it, some of the souls lost here may still remain. With visitors and staff reporting a wide range of supernatural phenomenon, including disembodied footsteps, the sound of clothing swishing together as if someone invisible is in the room, and a horrible sickening feeling that several veterans have attributed to pre-combat jitters.
Of course, that type of emotion so escalated, especially the possibility of even that leading to a trauma all its own, would possibly be recorded if it was strong enough amongst enough people, I guess, could literally record into the fabric of reality, almost like a stone tape of reality itself, just that feeling, that emotion recorded in to be expressed in anybody who passes through that area.
The acting director is reported experiencing these happenings as well, and is also reported hearing and sensing someone walking up behind him, turning to say hi, and finding no one there. Several have reported the ghost of a Japanese pilot, sometimes in the water, and it's thought that this is the spirit of the kamikaze pilot. Also reported here are the full-bodied apparitions of soldiers, pilots, and naval personnel who are seen in groups, alone, and sometimes walking around corners just before anyone can identify what they're actually witnessing. On one occasion, painters described leaving for their break while in the middle of repainting a segment of wall. While they were leaving the hall, they saw two men in uniforms pass and nod while continuing what sounded like a friendly conversation. Not thinking anything of it, the painters went on their way and enjoyed their break, but when they returned, they found the entire wall painted to perfection. Last but not least, the ghost of a long-dead engine operator dubbed Charlie is commonly seen in various places and is said to enjoy playing small pranks on the living.
So these last two parts of this case file, these last two ghosts, seem to me like caretaker ghosts, like the ones painting the entire wall and the mechanic watching over, though being prankful, watching over the ship.
El Paso High School. El Paso High School, in none other than El Paso, Texas, is the oldest operating high school in the area and is also part of the El Paso Independent School District. It sits on a hillside at the foot of the Franklin Mountains, overlooking the city, and stands out from other high schools for its Greco-Roman design, causing many to consider it a local landmark of sorts. Attached to this unique building is Jones Stadium, a large and beautiful field with matching stone bleachers, the school looming ominously above. We're not kidding. If there wasn't football being played here, we'd assume it was used for meeting for duels at high noon. Jones Stadium was named after the first assistant principal, R. Randolph Jones. It seats a whopping 12,000 people and was one of the first major concrete stadiums constructed in the U.S. Over the years, reports have sprouted up from students, parents, and even faculty depicting horrifying paranormal activity here, including disembodied voices echoing throughout the school and across the field when no one else is around, strange mists floating through the halls, and even what students describe as ectoplasm dripping from the ceiling.
Ectoplasm is something that we don't run across in a lot of case files. It's something that you do sometimes find in poltergeist files, and is supposedly a fluid or slime of some type that is formed from paranormal or spiritual energy. This tends to run down walls, out of ceilings, things of that nature. Again, very rare in case files, but it is noted from time to time.
Many have reported hearing disembodied footsteps commonly in various rooms, as well as the feeling of being followed, almost rushed out of the area. One local legend tells of the most famous haunting, that of a ghostly little girl that mysteriously appeared in a class photo in 1985.
There have been a variety of case files that have included pictures of ghosts in group photographs that don't belong.
Everyone else in the photograph looks normal, except for the ghostly little girl, whose features are fuzzy, distorted, indistinct. As the story continues, the girl's image wasn't in the negative, but somehow showed up after the film was developed. Some have speculated that she may be the ghost of a girl who jumped from one of the school's balconies, while others say she was killed in some sort of accident or prank. But we may never know the truth. The most disturbing part about this tale is that, to this day, many others have reported seeing this ghostly gal wandering around various parts of the school, popping up in mirrors, reaching under bathroom stalls, and hiding in the darkest parts of this historic and haunted old high.
Either way, it sounds like her story definitely fits our recipe of high trauma plus high emotion, and she seems to be very active within the grounds of this school.
The Menger Hotel. The Menger Hotel in San Antonio is a historic building and hotel located where the Battle of the Alamo occurred. William and Mary Menger opened the hotel in 1859 in the Alamo Plaza. It served as a place for rest, food, and medical aid for soldiers during the Civil War. The couple sold the property in 1881 to the Campman family, who held it until 1944, when it was sold yet again to William Lewis Moody. Moody, not satisfied with the hotel's condition, funded a full remodel and renovation. Over the years, the hotel has hosted many famous faces, including Ronald Reagan, Theodore Roosevelt, George H.W. Bush, and Bill Clinton. Having stood for such a long time and through such history, it's no surprise that more than a few lost souls are said to have checked in at the Menger, with staff and guests reporting a wide range of disturbing happenings. The hotel is said to hold hundreds, maybe even thousands of spirits, and a varying range of occurrences just as wide, including strange noises from the walls and from empty rooms, disembodied voices, old-timey music coming from thin air, and even levitating beds.
So I can handle the phantom music coming from other areas. That don't seem so much a bother, but the levitating bed, that would probably freak me out a little bit. What about you guys?
Many have also reported translucent faces appearing in windows and mirrors, doors opening and closing on their own, lights turning on and off by themselves, and the phantom smell of cigar smoke wafting through the halls. The spirit of none other than Teddy Roosevelt himself has been sighted here quite often, always seemingly in a good mood, sometimes talking to unknowing guests. One of the more famous apparitions here has been dubbed Sally. As local legend has it, she was a chambermaid who was shot by her husband in the late 19th century. Many report sighting her carrying a load of sheets and towels, and several have described more perturbing accounts in which she lowers them to reveal a chest or stomach full of blood and a singular bullet wound. And though she may seem frightening, she's considered mostly harmless.
Again, yet another case file that fits our theory of high trauma plus high emotion.
Richard King, the founder of the King Ranch, died at the Menger in 1885, and many have reported seeing his ghost throughout the hotel, most commonly in his old room, which, incidentally, still holds the bed he died in. Also reported at the Menger are floating red orbs, windows opening and closing suddenly, and something heard rustling around in closets.
So it seems to me that Texas has a large amount of spiritual haunting energy. But what do you guys think? From the cryptids to the large amount of hauntings found in Texas, do you think that Texas is definitely a state of mystery? Or do you think that we're barking up the wrong tree? In the end, folks, all you can do is look at the evidence, apply a little common sense, and
you be the judge, yeah?
That's right, boys. We got to close it out. That's right, that's it for this episode of the Dark Wolf's Den Radio Show for Thursday, April the 14th, 2022. Haha. So whether you're on the edge of a reality, the edge of the galaxy, or the edge of your seat, we're glad you chose us to be right there with you. Folks, the den may be closing for the last time this weekend, but don't you worry, we've kicked it off right and the weekend fun has only just begun. Make sure you come back tomorrow, Friday, April the 15th, Tax Day, 2022, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, for an all-new episode of the Ripon Rabbit Hole live show. Our buddy AJ the Ripon Rabbit takes back to the airwaves as he discusses the good life. What is the good life? What does it mean to you? Is the good life having lots of money, having lots of friends, or just having what you need? What is the good life? AJ will be discussing all that and more tomorrow, Friday, April 15th, 2022, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central. Then on Saturday, April 16th, 2022, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, he takes back to the airwaves once again on this Easter weekend to discuss what all places, but of course, Easter Island and the giant Moai heads, the history of Easter Island, a crazy, crazy story indeed, and one that AJ is going to dive down the rabbit hole of on Saturday, April 16th, 2022 at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central. And of course, Easter Sunday, we will be taking off to spend with all of our families on Easter, and we hope you have a very safe and wonderful Easter with your family as well. And if you are trying to make sure you stay up to date with all the shows that we're doing, make sure you hop on over to the RiponRabbitHole.com. That is RiponRabbitHole.com. Over there, you're going to find the on-air schedule live and be updated with all the shows we have coming up every weekend and all weekend long, both on the Dark Wolf's Den show as well as the Ripon Rabbit Hole shows. That's right. Also, over there, make sure you sign up for your VIP pass. That is going to get you access to the entire rest of the site, and you can do fun things like joining our groups section over there. That is where you're going to find groups like the International Mandela Effect Conference, the Dark Wolf's Den Radio Show, the Ripon Rabbit Hole Show, the Lucid Dreaming, the Music of Plants, and so many more amazing groups. Also, there is the 24/7 Backstage Lounge, my favorite place to hang out, and where I will be right after the show, guys, and I hope to see the rest of the rabbits back there as well, as we always have an amazing time like we did on our birthday celebration last night. For me, as I turned 42 last night, we had a great party backstage, a lot of fun, and a good time had by all. And we always have a good time back there. We would love to see you guys there at the same place that Tuesday Night Videos is played. Apparently, it was a very fun Tuesday Night Videos this month as well. One that I wasn't able to catch part of. I had to work at my other job, but the way I heard it, it was loads and loads of fun. And speaking of fun, folks, we hope to see you back here next week for even more fun. on the Dark Wolf's Den radio show as we try to finish out our State of Mystery series for the next couple of weeks. We've got even more craziness planned after that. So folks, make sure you log on to the riponrabbithole.com, stay up to date with everything going on here on the network, as well as listening to all the shows on demand. Also check out our BitChute and our Rumble as well. On behalf of AJ the Ripon Rabbit, Chick Mandela Effect, Michael Musco, Walt House, everyone involved with Ripon Common Sense Radio Network, as well as Tom Bayless and Red Shed Studios for this amazing music. My name's Jerry Hicks, also known as the Dark Wolf, and you've been listening to the Dark Wolf's Den radio show's State of Mystery series for the great state of Texas. Until next we meet, my friends, remember, stay awake, but dare to dream. Good night, everybody. How? Yeah. That's right. Say bye, Bubby.
Bye, Bubby.
Good night, everybody.
I'm lost and into the dark. Some things are better left unknown. And I'll never find you here, 'cause no one's ever home. What a widow, a peaceful spider. When the glass is clean, she's a sneaky hider. Hide the lies and the alibis. Oh, what a sinner, is it in her? What's the truth in this riddle? Is love really just this simple? I can't seem to find my way in this world that never stays. What a widow, a peaceful spider. When the glass is clean, she's a sneaky hider.
Hide the lies and the alibis. What a sinner, is it in her? I think Chick sounds better than I do. Again, there's a reason I talk and not sing on the radio, right? Is this real? Just illusion? I'm lost in a wonderland of confusion. Make it a more metal sounding song. I'm lost in a wonderland of confusion.
Is this real? Or just illusion? Manifestation or a dark delusion?
See you, Earth Daughter.
Is this real or just illusion? I'm lost in a wonderland of confusion.
I'm lost in a wonderland of confusion. Those over on the Ripon Rabbit Hole right now got the den cam going. Shout out to all you guys. A little special treat tonight. It's been fun. but we gotta run. Good night, everybody. We'll see you next week.